Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. I hope everyone had a great week. I hope you're having a great weekend. I hope you had a wonderful Labor Day weekend. It was a long weekend, so that's always good. And, if you happen to travel out of the state or the city, I hope you were safe and hope that everyone made it back home safely. All right, so I don't want to hold you for too long today, so we're going to get straight to today's show. The title of today's show is I Like the Way You Talk, and the topic is choosing the right narrator. Billy Bob Thornton is a phenomenal actor, and I adore his movies. One of my favorites is Sling Blade, and more specifically, a quote from that movie. I like the way you talk. So I didn't come way out of left field with today's title. It actually has a point, and so we're going to discuss that. All right. So grammatically speaking, the phrase is wrong, and Grammarly would have been all over that with corrections. And much like this helpful writing tool, we are equipped to gauge and determine if certain things seem right or not to us as well. Audio narration is one of the best-selling features of books. Let me count the ways. First, they allow you to listen while engaged with other things. Second, it sharpens our listening ability. And third, it enables us to read while driving, something I wouldn't otherwise advise. Still, there are a few drawbacks for authors who want their books on audio besides the pros and cons, okay? So recently, I submitted my latest novel for an audio edition. It sounds simple, but often choosing the right narrator is more complicated than you think. First, you need to determine if having your book available in audio is worth it. And, because people like choices. And as I mentioned before, audio sales are climbing, okay? Second, how expensive are audio production? And third, how do I choose a narrator that's right for my story? Well, to answer the first question, millions of readers subscribe to Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, on a daily basis. I am an Audible subscriber, and I listen here lately. Well, actually, for the last few years, or maybe longer than that, that is how I read books. I listen to them because, the hours in my day do not allow downtime for actually sitting and reading a book, from cover to cover or, a few chapters or whatever. I don't have time for that. So, while I'm working, I can listen to a book, and depending on the length of the book, usually, by the end of the workday, the book is finished and I can start on something new. And then sometimes, if it's a short story or a novella or something like that, then I can do two books, within 8 hours. So I love it because it is the convenience of it, and the practicality of it, of being able to read, without actually having to pick up a book and, read each line. You can just listen to it. So it just makes sense. All right. Well, anyway, audio production may sound expensive, and in some cases can be when you factor in the number of narrators for one project and the book's length, just like I said before. But still, with audio services available, like ACX and DIY audio narration, you can minimize the cost through shared expenses and home production studios. Now, if you want more information as to what ACX, which is the company that offers shared production expenses, you can just go to their site. I think that it may be an Amazon product. I'm not sure, but I think it is. I think I've seen it on their website before. You can go out there and research it for yourself, or either you can do just like I said with the DIY audio narration, but you need to make sure that you have a soundproof audio room or somewhere where you won't pick up any type of background noises and things like that, because you want it to sound professional. Okay. Now, so now that we've covered all the primary details, let's talk about who we want to act out the character story through audio. All right. So the first step is listening to audio auditions to get a feel of who will be the best fit for your project. Inflection is ideal, if not necessary. You'll want someone who can make the characters come to life by the sound of the reader's voice. You know, I've listened to a ton of audiobooks where maybe in the just at the sampling of the audio, I didn't like the narrator's voice. Now, normally that does not turn me off to the book. If I feel like the plot is a good one, you know, I'll listen anyway. And after a while, you know, once they actually get in character, you know, start playing the different parts of the characters, I sort of lose, you know, the sound, the initial quality, or I won't say quality, but the initial tone of the narrator's voice. You know, if it's too nasally or if it's too deadpan. That's why I said inflection is important, because it is. You want someone who is able to transition throughout the product, the story, you know, and do it all at the right times, you know, because that is so important. It's just like sometimes listening to an audiobook, it's like watching a film on television. You know, it has that same type of effect when you have good actors playing those parts. So, and, you know, and that's the same, it's the same thing with an audiobook. You know, it may be someone narrating the story, but it's not like, you know, your mom or you sitting, you know, on your child's bed reading them a book. It's not at all like that. Narration, this type of narration is actually acting, because that's what they're doing. They're taking on all the parts of the characters in your story, and they're giving life to them, you know, through how they're voicing, you know, the different characters and things of that nature. So you want someone who's able to do that, who's capable of, you know, of making those voice changes, you know, to where you can actually hear the changes in the character's voice and in whatever role that they're portraying. If it's female, male, or whatever, you want to be able to, you know, to hear those voices, make those changes whenever those characters come into play. All right. And details are important and reflected in how well the reader can take on the persona of the characters. So that's another thing that you want to look for when choosing an audio narrator. All right. So audio quality is another factor. So you need to be aware of background noise, as I mentioned before, and other interference. You know, background noise can consist of anything, and sometimes it can even come from your computer. You know, I have an all-in-one computer, so that means that all the mechanisms are inside my screen. They're in the back of my screen. So you hear the fans and you hear things like that, and you may hear a slight whistle that maybe you didn't notice before when you listen to my show. But that's the sound of all of those mechanical things in the computer that's attached to the back of the screen. So it's just a slight sound, and you know, you may never have even noticed it because the sound quality is very, very good, but you can still hear that little whistling sound in the background. So I hope that doesn't detract from from the podcast. So, and maybe I shouldn't even have mentioned it and bringing it to your attention, but now that I have, it's out there. So we just have to deal with it. All right. All right. So anyway, any professional performer understands that the audition is just as important, if not more, than the finished project, because they know that getting that job is based on how well they perform at the audition. That's any actor in any role that they want to, to take on or get the job. They know that they have to put their best foot forward. So that applies to audio auditions as well. Now, most audiobooks are produced in a studio setting. So if searching for freelance performances, then you need to develop a checklist of what's expected from that narrator, okay? And when choosing a narrator, you should acquaint yourself with the different performer styles and techniques, or I should say performance styles and techniques, okay? And you should also notice how well they deliver throughout the audition and if they meet all your expectations, okay? So remember, who you hire to read your story is a reflection of how well you've done your homework before the hiring process even takes place, okay? So once you make the final decision, there is no going back or changing lanes in the process. So be very sure that you've made the right choice in narrators. The result will be all you need, okay? All right, so that is the show for today. But before I let you go, I want to make sure I give you these URLs because that's equally important to me, because I want you to be able to find Book Chat and listen to these episodes, all right? So the first one, of course, is to Spreaker, and that is at https://www.spreaker.com/user/author Vivian E. Moore. You can also find me on all social media, which includes Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, but Instagram is by invitation only. So if you send me an invitation, I promise you that I will accept it, okay? Whether I follow you back or not, I will accept your invitation, okay? As long as it's not something that's linked to a porn site or something like that. So I just have to put that out there. All right. Also, you can check out today's blog and all other of the episodes on the blog at https://vivianemore.blogspot.com. And also, you can listen to Book Chat, of course, on Spreaker, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, YouTube, SoundCloud, JioSaavn, that's spelled JIOSAAVN, also iTunes, Audible.com, Verbal, and Luminary. Okay, so those are all of the places where you can listen to Book Chat. Each and every episode that has ever been produced is out there. And tomorrow is Worship Day, so I hope you're excited about that, because I sure am. Last Sunday was the first Sunday, Communion Sunday, so I look forward to that as well. But I hope that you have plans to attend church, whether you're still doing it virtually or if you're actually in the brick and mortar building. Just be safe, because it's still so dangerous out here, and we want to be safe. We want to keep our loved ones safe. So that means that we must take the proper precautions to ensure that no one gets sick, including us. All right. And also, it is so vitally important to tell those around you how much you care about them, because it seems as though everything is just coming apart at the seams, and within a twinkling of an eye, we could all be gone. So it is so important to tell those that you care the most about how much you love them. And so on that note, I love you. I hope you love me back. Until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you, and goodbye.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.